DeFi has been one of the fastest growing areas in crypto. This time last year, the total amount that was locked up in DeFi was around $20 billion. But in September 2021, as I'm making this video, it almost broke $100 billion and it's sitting at around $81 billion as I'm making this video. And we can be fairly sure that this is going to keep on growing exponentially. If you ever plan on getting involved in DeFi using DeFi protocols such as Pancakeswap, Uniswap, Sushiswap for yield farming, then one important concept that you need to understand is the concept of impermanent loss. And that is what I want to cover in today's video. I want to go over the concept of impermanent loss and explain it in very simple terms. DeFi protocols such as Uniswap and the others that I just mentioned have democratized market making, enabling anybody who has funds to become a market maker and earn trading fees. Essentially, you are lending out the cryptocurrencies that you own into a liquidity pool in order for this market to operate, because these exchanges such as Uniswap are completely useless if they don't have liquidity. And when you do this, you will be rewarded for providing this liquidity. How it works on something like Uniswap is, say for example that you have $6,000 that you want to deposit into the liquidity pool, you will have to choose a trading pair. So you will have to deposit 50% of your value in one asset and 50% in another asset. A common trading pair may be ETH and a stable coin. So one ETH is roughly around $3,000 at the moment, so you would deposit one ETH and $3,000 worth of a stable coin such as DAI or USDC. However, when you provide liquidity, there is always the risk of impermanent loss. However, impermanent loss happens when you provide liquidity to a liquidity pool and the actual assets that you provided at the start change in price. And most importantly, change in price relative to one another. So let's just explain this with an example which will be much easier and clearer for everybody to understand. Let's continue on here with my example. So I want to deposit a total value of $6,000 into the liquidity pool. So I'm just going to put in $6,000 here into my calculator, and it is going to be split 50% into ETH and 50% into USDC. So split 50-50 at the moment, that is around 1 ETH and $3,000 worth of USDC. When I click calculate here, as you can see when I come down the list here, it will give you the pool P&L, the pool P&L percentage and all this information. But what we really want to look at here is the impermanent loss. So the impermanent loss at the moment here is 0%. That is because the price of the assets that I have deposited into the liquidity pool haven't changed whatsoever since I deposited them. You only start to get an impermanent loss when the price of one asset changes compared to the other. So let's have a look and see here how things change if I change the prices. So what I'm going to do here is increase the price of Ethereum by 100%. So I'm just putting 100 here and hit recalculate. Before we have a look at the figures, if you think about it logically, I have deposited $6,000 in total, and that was split about $3,000 of ETH and $3,000 of USDC. So if the price of Ethereum doubles, then my Ethereum value has increased obviously to $6,000, and I still have $3,000 of USDC, so that is a total value of $9,000. But they will no longer be split 50-50 because I will now have $6,000 worth of ETH and $3,000 worth of USDC. So that is a ratio of 2/3 to 1/3. So they're not in a 50-50 ratio anymore. Well, in this situation, when your pool is not in the correct balance anymore, arbitrageurs will come in, and what they will do is they're going to take away some of the ETH from your pool and replace that with some more USDC to try and get it back to the correct balance. The incentive that they have to do this basically is that the price of ETH in this liquidity pool is slightly different to the price that they can get on an exchange such as Coinbase. So they will come in here and take that little bit of ETH and sell it on someplace like Coinbase and pocket a small little profit. The result of this arbitrage is that the overall total value in your pool is lower compared to, say, if you had just taken your ETH and your USDC and kept it completely outside of the liquidity pool in your own wallets. That would have grown up to $9,000, but as we will see shortly, it is not going to be equal to $9,000 anymore in this liquidity pool. So let's see here exactly how much less. So as we can see here, our total pool value is actually $8,485 compared to what we were expecting, about $9,000. So that is because of the impermanent loss. So as you can see here now, we have an impermanent loss of 5.72%, and that is because all of the arbitraging and the rebalancing of the pool. So we have lost out basically there on over $500 in the pool because of impermanent loss. And the level of impermanent loss will increase in this situation depending on how much the ETH price continues to rise or fall. If I change that to 200% and recalculate, you will see here the impermanent loss in this situation actually increases from 5.72 up to 13. Here is just a graphical representation of how much impermanent loss is depending on how much the ETH price would have risen. So the ETH price doubled to say 200% at the start, and that was 5.72%. And as we saw, when it went up another 100%, it was actually around 13.4%, and it keeps continuing to increase the more and more the ETH price increases. But as you can see here, there is also an impermanent loss if the ETH price decided to fall, and the impermanent loss in this situation actually increases at a faster rate if the ETH price is falling. So let's just come back to my calculator here, and I'm going to put it in a negative price change here of say 50% for ETH. If it dropped 50%, then you're looking at an impermanent loss of 5.72%. So a 50% drop was actually equal to what 100% rise was when we checked it earlier on. So 100% rise equal to a 5.72% impermanent loss, but a 50% drop also equals the same 5.72% impermanent loss. But one important thing to note here is that an impermanent loss only becomes permanent whenever you remove your funds from the liquidity pool. It will increase and decrease depending on how much the ETH price fluctuates from the price that you initially deposited. The closer obviously it is to your initial price that you deposited to the liquidity fund, the less of an impermanent loss that you will have. So if I just change this here now, say if the price of ETH had only risen say 5% from when I actually deposited my funds, my impermanent loss in that situation is actually very low. It's like minus 0.03%. You might be now thinking to yourself, why does anybody even provide liquidity if you're dealing with these types of impermanent losses? Well, you could still end up in a profitable position because these calculations that I'm showing you here do not take into account the different types of rewards that you're going to earn for providing this liquidity. So basically, if the rewards that you earn are greater than this impermanent loss, then you're in a profitable position. Now let's talk about ways to try and reduce or minimize your impermanent losses. One option is to try and pick two assets whose prices closely correlate to each other. So if the price of asset A increases by 10%, you'd be hoping the price of asset B also increases roughly 10% as well, because in that case there would be no impermanent loss if both assets are moving in the same direction. There are other DeFi protocols that allow you to mess around with the ratios that you can choose between asset A and asset B, and this can help you minimize the amount of impermanent losses, but it might be at a trade-off to the amount of rewards that you can earn. So that is my explanation of what an impermanent loss is. It is a difficult one to explain, but I hope that everybody that watched the video has some bit of a better understanding of what it is now. As always, if anybody has any questions, please let me know in the comment section and I will try and get back to you. And if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, please make sure and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you keep up to date with my latest videos.